Welcome to Tag Day 13, where we are covering 7.12a, which is data displays. And so we've kind of already talked about this strategy and this way to solve data displays with dot plots, but we haven't covered box plots, and so we're going to do that today. So the box plot shows the target heart rates of men 20 to 40 years old and men 50 to 70 years old. So I see highlighted here that this box plot is 20 to 40 years old, the top one. And the second one is 50 to 70 years old, the bottom one. So we're comparing two at the same time. And so if we look at the answer choices, it says which statement is best supported by the information in the box plot. So this happens all the time when we have data displays. So for A, it's talking about the range. B is talking about the median. C is talking about the minimum target rate. And D is talking about the interquartile range. And so because they typically ask so much information within the answer choices, students get overwhelmed and they just kind of pick whichever one seems best. But we have a strategy that we use for dot plots. That is our H chart, so that we can easily compare them at the same time. So I'm going to do yellow 20 to 40. And 50 to 70. So I'm putting the labels here on the top so that I can then put the information on the side that compares both of them at the same time. So remember, we start with maximum, then we go to minimum, then we go to range, we then go to median. And in this case, we can't find the mode because we don't have all of the dots that created this box plot or all of the data, but we do have something called IQR. And so we're going to talk about that here in a bit as well. So instead of that mode, we have IQR. And so let's go ahead and look at the maximum point on our 20 to 40 box plot. So that would be the maximum or the greatest point, which I see is here at, that was not straight, 170. And then the maximum for 50 to 70-year-olds is right here between 140 and 150. So since that's a span of 10, that must mean this is halfway, which is 5. So that's 145. So let's put that in our chart. And let me just fix this since it's a highlighter. And then the minimum point for 20 to 40 years old is right here at 90. And the minimum or the smallest point for 50 to 70-year-olds is halfway between 70 and 80, which makes this 75. So let's be careful. The 20 to 40-year-old range minimum is 90, and the minimum range for 50 to 70-year-olds is 75. Okay, so now that we have the max and the min, how do we find the range? Well, we have to then subtract to see what the range is for each box plot. So I see here it is a range of 80 for the 20 to 40-year-old. So from here to here is a range of 80. And then for the 50 to 70-year-olds, it's a range of 70. So it's a little bit smaller. Okay, now we can look for the median. And so the median of a box plot is the point that's right in the middle. So if you look at the box plot, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots that make it up. Same thing here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the median is going to be the middle point. So point 3, that's in the middle of the box, which goes right here to 130. And for the second box plot goes down here to 110. So the median for 20 to 40-year-olds is 130. The median for 50 to 70-year-olds is 110. So far, so good. And then the IQR, let me go ahead and clean this up a little bit. The IQR is called the interquartile range. And so I want you to write that down. IQR is interquartile range because sometimes you'll see it shorthand with IQR and sometimes you'll see the entire vocab term. And the IQR is the range of this box here in our box plot. So they want to know how it goes from one side to the other. And so in order to see the range, we're going to do the same thing we did above, where we subtract the maximum point from the minimum point. So for 20 to 40-year-olds, it goes from 150 to 110. So when I subtract that, the IQR is 40. And then if I look at the 50 to 70-year-olds, I see it goes from here to here. So this would be 95 and this would be 125. So when I subtract that, I see that it's an IQR of 30. Alrighty, team, we have everything that we could possibly need in our chart. So let's go ahead and start looking at the answer choices. So A, the range of the data for men 20 to 40-year-olds is less than, well, that means less than the range of the data for men 50 to 70-year-olds. So I'm just going to do some annotations here. And now my eye is going to look at range. So is the range of the men, the data for men 20 to 40-year-olds. So the range for 20 to 40-year-olds is 80. Is 80 less than the range for the men 50 to 70-year-olds? Is 80 less than 70? No, it's not. So we need to cross it out. And so we're going to now look at, thank you. We're now going to look at answer choice B, where it says the median of the data. So median of the data for men 20 to 40-year-olds is again less than the median for the data for men 50 to 70-year-olds. So let's go ahead and look at our median. And so I see that the median for 20 to 40-year-olds is 130. And is that less than 110? No, it's not. So that answer choice also needs to be eliminated. So this is why the chart is like my favorite thing in the world. The minimum target heart rate for men 20 to 40-year-olds is less than the minimum target heart rate for men 50 to 70-year-old. So we're looking at the minimum here, which is this row. And so I see the minimum for 20 to 40-year-olds is 90. And is that less than the minimum target rate for 75? No, it is not. So before we go and say, oh, it has to be answer choice D, we need to double check to make sure we didn't make a mistake earlier. And so we're talking about the interquartile range of the data for men 20 to 40-year-olds is greater than the interquartile range of the data for men 50 to 70-year-olds. So let's look at IQR for 20 to 40 is 40, and IQR for 50 to 70 is 30. So is 40 greater than 30? Yes, it is. So sure enough, our answer choice D is correct. So let's make sure to stamp that when we are looking at data displays, the quickest way to compare them is by creating our H chart with the maximum, the minimum, the range, the median, and the IQR if it is box plots, or the mode if it is dot plots. And so we can compare both displays side by side so that when we start annotating our answer choices, we can very clearly see which ones match and which ones do not. Let's try some more on our own.